other countries are still under quarantine or if they've gotten it under control. I don't know, but it's driving me bananas.
So this information that you've received, like, is it from online, or did you hear it from coworkers, or what?
It's generally information that I've seen online that's like credited to like the New York Times or whatever.
Right.
I try to take the things that I read with a grain of salt and realize that a lot of it is leaning one way or another politically.
Right.
And I know that because the majority of the people don't like the current administration, that some stuff is going to be skewed to make it look worse than it is.
Right.
And so, nothing I've said about, like, I don't want anybody to take what I'm saying as the gospel. These are just, but multiple sources I've seen, and I can't cite the sources right now. I can't think of them, but I've heard multiple reports that Donald Trump intentionally tried to downplay what this was going to be because he thought it was going to hurt his chances at re-election. And if that's true, then fuck him, because that's the biggest fucking that's such a dick move. Like, that's such an 80s villain in a movie dick move to put your own in, like, you're the leader of the free world, the commander-in-chief of the United States of America, and you're going to put your re-election chances ahead of the welfare of the people that you want to vote for you. If that's true, I mean, and I've thought he could go fuck himself from the beginning, but if that's true, he can doubly fuck himself. And I just get all riled up, and I don't like the feeling that I get when I talk about shit like this, because it makes me angry, and I don't like being angry. Well, but it's hard not to be.
I want to say something, and it is by no means in defense of or in support of Donald Trump. But the fact is that some of this information is being passed around by people that don't know whether it's being verified or not, or don't know how to even verify it. And so that kind of thing adds to the hysteria.
Yeah.
Like
it absolutely does.
You're taking on some information that you probably didn't even ask for, and it is affecting your mental health right now. And me too.
There's too much. I feel like there's too much unnecessary information out there. Like, I don't want to know what was going on behind closed doors. I don't want to know. All I want to know is, how are you trying to fix this for us? What are you doing to make it better? I don't care what they did to make it worse, because there's nothing we can do about that right now. You know, like, we can't change what happened. We can't get in a time machine and go back to January and tell them to stop fucking around. So, like, I would rather the only information we get, the information that pertains to what they're doing to try and help, as opposed to what they didn't do, but then that it's too late for us to do anything about. Like, there's just so much negative stuff floating around, and things are already negative, and it's making people feel worse, and it's making somebody like you, Dwayne, who is generally a beacon of positivity, it's making you feel negative a little bit. And, like, I didn't think that could happen unless you were having a bad day. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense, like, you're generally one of the most positive people I know. Like, you could put a positive spin on anything. And so to hear you say that it's affecting you mentally it must be, I imagine how it must be affecting people who don't generally have a positive outlook on things. And there are a lot of people who are like that. I'm one of those people. I try to be positive, but in the back of my mind, I'm worrying about every little fucking thing that could go wrong. Because if something happens to me because of this, I don't care. But if anything were to happen to my son in this situation, then there's a good chance you're going to have to find yourself another co-host because I don't know what I'm going to do. I might not be able to get myself off the couch. I might drive my car into a lake. I'm just like, I don't know what would happen if anything happens to him. And that's immediately where my mind goes. And I hate that. And so, so I've been sitting and watching fucking period drama about Scotland in the 1700s to try and keep my mind off of shit. And I don't know.
I want to clarify. I have, for the better part of the last 5 years, been building a reputation of being a person that is something of a beacon of hope, right?
Yeah.
And because I have been building that reputation, a lot of times I don't express the fears that I have.
Right.
Like, I mean, I do believe that there is strength in being vulnerable and expressing those things, but I also think that sometimes, like, you have to know, not you, but the general you, right. You have to know your audience. Like, you're not, like, if you go on a comedy floor, if you go up to the stage and you get a particular vibe of the type of people that are in the room, you know that, like, maybe that fucking dick joke's not going to work.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. Like, the level of how comfortable I am with being vulnerable with people fluctuates depending on the situation and the people that I'm with. And you know that, like, right. We've had some other, like, we've had discussions like this, and getting on a podcast and talking about how, like, that it's affecting me is a little bit, I don't know exactly the words that I'm thinking of, but, like, that's pretty heavy, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, I don't, my mind just goes to always, like, how can I make myself feel better? And that's why I was a drug addict for so long. Like, I don't want to feel the way that I feel 90% of the time. There's the rare 10% of the time where I'm, like, super content with where I'm at, and not wanting to feel the way that I feel is why I cram so much personal development material into my head, why I always have headphones on, why I'm always reading. Because, like, I mean, maybe it's not the most healthy thing to do. Maybe there's another way to go about finding, like, some peace and serenity. But this is the way that I've done it that isn't killing me. And so I'm okay with that. Before, like, I straight up was going to bed every night hoping not to wake up the next morning.
Yeah.
And that's the life that I lived for a lot of years while fucking smoking enough drugs to kill horses, you know?
Yeah.
And if I get the equivalent head change from, like, stuff that I can actually use in my life, like, I think that's doing a hell of a lot better than I was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this, I know, I'm sure you already have, a person or whatever for these types of situations, but as this drags on, if you start feeling like you're at a point where, you don't, I'm always available is what I'm saying. Like, my phone is always on, and with precaution, my door is always open. You know what I mean? So if you need anything at all, that, a word of encouragement, fucking whatever, I'm here for you, buddy. Whatever if you start going to that place, not that you will, it's been a while, and you're doing great, but these are uncertain times, and it's a lot of scary shit. So I'm just putting that out there. If you need me, whatever time of day, ring my phone till I answer, and I'll be there for you. Just putting that out there.
I appreciate that, and all of that right back at you.
Thanks.
I think that's it's super important. I think just the fact that your willingness to express it, and I know that you mean it, like, that goes to show, I think, that in these uncertain times, how important it is to be helpful to other people, at least to be willing to be helpful. And that's what I hope.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, we need to come together and look out for each other, and a lot of people are. And, I think that's great. Like, just on a, I posted, I don't know if I mentioned this at all on the last episode, but, I had posted an article a couple weeks ago about how a lot of my comedy stuff had been canceled because of this, and it's taking money out of my pocket. And a friend of mine who I went to high school with that I haven't seen, he lives in New York. I haven't seen him in person since we graduated high school almost 20 years ago, sent me a message on Facebook and was like, hey, man, if there's anything I can do, if you have a PayPal, let me know. I can, send you some, whatever. And I thanked him for that. And I almost started crying. And I told him, hopefully I won't have to take you up on that, because I don't like having to do that. But just that, he reached out, and, like, we keep in contact on Facebook, and we,
Right.
we comment on each other's stuff, and, whatever. I try to make him laugh. But I just thought that really, like, touched me, that he would send me that message after, he didn't have to do that. Like, we were friends in high school. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen you in 20 years in real life, but
Yeah.
you're still going to offer me, like, I just thought that was cool. And,
Yeah.
I don't think I'll have to take him up on that, because, I'm working. It's not like I, don't have any income coming in, but things like that just show me that there are, people are nicer, and people are more alike, and we have more in common than media would have you believe. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yes.
I think on a real basic level, we're all the same, and we're all in the same boat. And I think a lot of us realize that we just need to be there for each other right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, we should be always, but in times like this, especially.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Hopefully next week we'll have something, a little less heavy to talk about, because this is 2 weeks in a row of the podcast on this subject already. So,
Yeah.
I don't want I don't want our listeners to get burned out and be like, this is all they're talking. You know what I mean? Like, so hopefully,
Like,
like, next week, let's
it's
try to get back to.
I,
I don't know.
I'm cool with getting a little bit more back on train, but like at the same time, this is what's relevant right now. And like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
said last week, like we were talking about exactly what we needed to be talking about right then.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing right now. Like this is going to show our audience and just anyone that, like, it's okay to be a little freaked out. Like, and there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that are probably out there thinking that I need to be strong and I need to hold my shit together because there's people that are counting on me. And that's all true, right? But at the same time, it's okay for
Yeah.
things not to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It is absolutely okay to not be okay, because I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I'm not, like,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for my friends, and, the people that I've been interacting with via text message or whatever, like, my roommates, who are amazing, amazing women that I love very much. Yeah. Like, if I had to be going through this by myself, like, all alone, I don't know I don't know. I don't know that I'd be able to do it, truth be told.
Yeah.
But, and I feel like there's probably a lot of people who, if they didn't have a support system in place, that would be in the same boat. And, I guess it's just, like you were saying, it's okay to not be okay. And, if you need, don't be afraid to ask for help. Maybe reach out to a friend that you haven't spoken to in a while. Reach out to anybody, really, who, if there's somebody in your life that, even if all they do is offer a joke to try and help you feel better, like, nobody has to go through this alone. Nobody should go through it alone. And if you feel like you are alone and you don't have anybody to turn to, and I don't feel like I don't think we have a lot of listeners who are in that position, because I feel like anybody who's listening to this is, I don't know. I don't want to make generalizations. Never mind. If you know, I don't want to assume what anybody's going through.